Hey man, what's up? It is the Ace Micheals show, and you know that. That's why you're here. You came here to do this. So now it's too late to turn back now. I believe I'm falling in love.
Hey.
So that is what's up. Hey man, today on the show, my friend Jamie's here. She's going to talk about all her stuff and more stuff than you probably even want to know. It's going to happen. So just know that. But listen, before we do that, if you ever want to be on the show, we got no problem with that. All you have to do is call. You can call 702-540-3498, and you can get on the show. You can also email. You want to email, it's beonthebuzz@yahoo.com, and that gives you the opportunity to come on the show. You can voice your opinions, suggestions, convictions, beliefs, ideas, dreams, goals, all that. And if not yours, somebody else's. Jamie, welcome to the show for the first time. We got a first timer in our midst.
I am. I'm a newbie. Hi, how are you?
It's gonna be okay. Just hang on tight. No, I'm playing. So now, Jamie, you do a lot of things, right? So give us a quick run, because they may not know. I know a little of them, but they may not know none of them. So
right. Well, hi guys. I'm Jaime Lynch. I currently, I'm a singer in town in Vegas. I've been singing here for many, many years. And I'm also...
And that's a big deal.
Thank you.
It's just
yes.
You know how many people live their whole life and never can say that? Just that sentence right there, I'm a singer in Vegas.
Right.
That's a big deal.
Yes, I agree. And I feel very blessed, honestly, to be able to have had the experiences and the career and to be able to do that, because I didn't actually grow up singing, but I grew up dancing and acting. So I dance and I act and I sing. And I'm also getting into coaching, if you will. Mm-hmm. I don't love that word, but I am coaching women to kind of step into owning their own voice and into their purpose, and trying to empower people to
that's a good thing to work.
Step into that.
Now, just going back a step. So now you have been doing the singing for a short period on the timeline, but you've been doing the dancing and the acting. Mm-hmm. Now, were you one of those theater kids? Did you do it like tough Broadway style? Did you go to auditions with 5,000 kids and narrow down to 3?
Well, yes and no, because I was never a musical theater baby, to say it like that. I was in dance, from a very young age. My parents put me into ballet and jazz, and I did some just like local theater stuff in Salt Lake City, Utah. I did like the Christmas Carol and, some Christmas productions, the Snow Queen and stuff like that. So I did a little bit of singing then, and acting, but I never was really into the whole Broadway or musical theater scene like that. It was more just the acting, and I grew up in a dance studio there, and we would travel and perform in different venues, dancing and dance competitions. And I remember coming to Vegas at as a child for a dance competition, and I just thought it was so cool with all the lights and everything.
Yeah, I bet. Now, did you find yourself going down a path that was easy to get into it? Like a lot of times, and by the way, you're a really good-looking cookie out of the bag, So,
Thank you.
it's not a usual thing to compliment, but yeah, if you're a good-looking cookie out of the bag, then hey, let's call attention to that. But a lot of times I've seen if you are attractive guy or girl, then people just kind of go, oh, well, you should be a model. As if you're just going to go be one. Like, oh, well, there you go. Now there's my life path. It's not hard. Oh, you should get into acting. Oh, try singing. As you can just pop it on like a jacket, right? Did you find that? Did you find that people were pushing you towards being an entertainer? Or did you find that middle of the night passion thing waking you up going, I must be on the stage?
Yeah, it absolutely was not easy by any means. I didn't feel that I had anyone necessarily pushing me. My parents were very, they just kind of let me explore, They knew that I liked being in dance, so that's why they kept doing it. And honestly, as I was growing up, I wanted to be an actress, but I didn't really think, oh yes, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna pursue this and blah blah blah. It just kind of happened that way, where I had a friend that was dancing in a show in Vegas that I had grown up with, dancing in the same studio. And at that time, my parents were going through a divorce, and I just wanted to get out of Utah. I was ready to move. And, you know, so I had this dance background, and I saw her in Vegas doing it. I thought it was so cool. And at the time, I thought she was making so much money, which I later learned wasn't that much money. But no, it's awesome. But, you know, for a 17, 18, 19-year-old girl, like, that's amazing. So I came and auditioned, and I got a part dancing in the same show that she was in at the time.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I moved in with her, and, you know, her apartment, and so I had, it all just kind of worked out that way. And then the singing came later. I definitely had this deep, deep, deep desire and hunger to sing. And I didn't, growing up, I sang a little bit, but I was never in singing lessons. I never honestly even thought that I really could sing. Like, I knew I had somewhat of a natural voice, but it wasn't something that I was actively practicing or learning. And so when I got to Vegas, I was dancing in a show, and I just had this desire that started coming out, and I was like, I want to sing so bad. And so, you know, I started learning about scales, and I started practicing, and I found a coach out here, and I started just, like, learning how to use my voice. And so that was, I worked my ass off, if I'm being honest. You know, like, nothing, I wouldn't say anything came easy. I went with the flow, and I worked my ass off and made things happen.
Right.
You know, and I don't know if I necessarily believe that it's really easy for anyone. I think that maybe it is easier for some than others, and maybe they're in the right place at the right time. But I think that I don't know. I think that if you have with anything you do, if you're going to show up and be good at it, you got to put in the work. You know?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And then I wanted to ask you too, although you may not feel like you necessarily had somebody pushing you to do it, right? Because it all came from within. Did you have anybody standing in your way? Which sometimes is an even stronger motivation when you realize, man, this fool is trying to keep me from my dream, and I ain't about to let that happen for real.
Right. I feel you on that. As far as people getting in my way, wow. I have to say that I am my biggest enemy in that sense.
Interesting.
Truly. I am my biggest critic, as we all are, ultimately, I believe.
No, I'm not mine.
You're not?
That's okay. No.
Have you
I'm sure there are bigger critics of me than me. That's for sure.
But that's good because, you know, some people get in their own way, and I'm very guilty of that.
Yeah.
I do feel like I've had a lot of support. I feel like along the way, there has definitely been some kind of misunderstanding about, like, what are you doing? Like, I remember when I first moved to Vegas, my dad was, like, terrified, you know, like, you're doing what in Vegas? You're dancing in Vegas? What? And I was like, oh my God, Dad, what?
Right.
I was, like, offended at the time, but, you know, he was just looking out for his daughter. But
and these shows, they're topless, right?
No.
Fantasy's not a topless show.
No. Well, fantasy is.
Okay.
I've never danced in a topless show,
so
personally.
Okay.
But when I first started dancing, at the time I was in a show called American Superstars, which is an impersonator show. So I was a dancer, and then there was, like, tribute artists coming out and singing.
Wow.
It was a family show.
Yeah.
And yeah, so, I mean, and most of the shows that I've ever done are family shows, to be honest with you. I mean, I've done some that are not, but even that was, you know, that took me a lot of growing in myself and being comfortable in my own skin to even get to the point where I was like, oh, this is okay to do. Like, this is not, you know, this, I don't know, I have this misconception about those types of shows, or who does those shows, or what does that mean as a woman, or, you know, and I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but coming from Utah, that was something that I struggled with. Was I came to Vegas, and there is a lot of, you know, stigma for one, but, like, in Vegas, there's the showgirls, and there's this glamour, and there's this sexiness, and you know, there's a lot of that going around, and a look, like you talk about. There's a look sometimes with certain gigs, and I was 20, I think, when I moved here, 19, 20. And I wasn't grown. I wasn't comfortable. And, you know, and then there was a lot of stigma where I grew up with owning your sexuality, per se, or sexiness, or whatever. It was like this thing that people don't want to talk about, or it's attached to something negative, you know.
Of course, yeah.
Especially as a female.
Yeah.
And so that took a lot of growing into learning how to give myself permission to be like, hey, I'm a woman, and it's okay to feel sexy. It doesn't make you promiscuous. It doesn't make you a slut. It doesn't make you anything except a strong woman owning every facet of herself.
That's interesting. When you do what you're doing, it's a performance, you know, like it's almost performance art. Like you're singing and you're also dancing and you're wearing these great costumes and you're getting the crowd excited. So I guess I want to ask you, how much in a percentage, in a ratio, how much is actually performing versus how much is real Jaime out there? Like, can you go out some nights and just literally be thinking about the shopping list while you're doing it? Or do you have to be all in, so to speak?
Yeah, okay, so there's a few things to that question. I feel as though, okay, so when it is definitely a performance, obviously, especially doing a production show as opposed to a band. When you're doing a production show, everything is very choreographed, everything's set, you basically know, you know, you're going to go stand over here at this point for this lighting and this cue and this entrance, and so everything is very produced and planned. It's a production show. And so it depends on what you're doing, you know, like depending on the show. A lot of these shows I've had, you know, the pleasure to be able to be the lead singer and MC of the show. In that sense, you are bringing out more of yourself because you have to bring out your personality. You're hosting, basically, as you know. And in that sense, you can be a little bit more of yourself, which is what I prefer to do. If you're doing a show where you're just coming out and you're saying the lines and you're, you know, maybe acting in a Broadway play or you're whatever. So it really, obviously that's more of a character that you're portraying. So it really depends on what type of show it is. Whereas like doing this band that I'm doing now, I've found so much more freedom in that because you can, you're not wearing the same costume every night. You can wear what you want, generally. You have a little bit more freedom to move and go the places you want to go and just kind of express. So you are getting Jaime or the person no matter what. But it depends on how much freedom you actually have to bring that out, depending on what type of show you're doing.
Now, and speaking of that, you're going through a major life change in course, a destination, a journey. Tell us a little bit about this new thing that you're taking on now.
Yeah. So it has been a transition, honestly. I have been, as we all do, we go through our ups and downs in life and we have our experiences. And the past few years I've been through some stuff personally where, without going into too much detail, but I was married and I got divorced. And I also had just been feeling very kind of unfulfilled in what I was doing. And it's not to say that I wasn't very grateful or excited about my job or the people that I was working with, because it was all amazing, truly. But there was something in me that I had been kind of ignoring for a while. And I just didn't feel okay. And I was going through all this emotional stuff with the divorce and just not feeling okay in my skin and not feeling happy and not feeling, I felt stuck in so many ways.
Do you think that the divorce triggered that? Like you realized it because of the divorce, or do you think it was something that was already there and you were just...
It had already been there. It was already there. And I didn't know what it was and I didn't know how to navigate through it. And of course the divorce was a catalyst. I mean, that was just life-changing for anyone, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
But at that time, this was about, a year and a half ago-ish. And I got the divorce. And then I decided that I needed to leave my job. And I went traveling around the world. And I just did it to go. Like, I was just like, I gotta get out of here. I'm gonna go and follow my heart. And I went traveling, and it was one of the best things I could have done for myself. And along the way, you know, I came back and I just traveled for most of last year, to be honest with you.
Oh, wow.
And luckily I was in the position where I could do that. But I really went on a journey, obviously physically, but more so spiritually and emotionally. And I slowly started putting the pieces back together. And I hit some scary places. I hit some really scary rock bottoms. And, you know, this isn't the first time I've had any lows in my life, you know, but it was one that was recent, and it was very, very life-changing for me. And I remember feeling, you know, for a while that there was something wrong with me, and I just felt so lost, and I didn't know what to do. I was so confused. And through a lot of work, I have been putting the pieces back together, and I feel very, very called to step into trying to just help people. So if there's anyone that is feeling this way, and I know that we all do at some point in our life, and I've had people come and talk to me about this, you know, I've felt this way for a very long time, and now I'm just finally owning the fact that I feel very called to step into this purpose. I want to help people. I want to empower these people if they feel lost, if they feel stagnated, if they feel confused. I get it. I've been there. Yeah. I'm with you. And I have found a direction and a way out, and I just want to share that message with people. And, you know, that was the catalyst. This life change was the catalyst. But if I'm being honest, this is something I have been studying for many, many, many years. I was going to school for psychology at one point, and realized that I didn't necessarily want to be a clinical psychologist, but I've always been interested in human behavior, emotions, spirituality, that whole thing. It's literally what lights me up. And I think that, you know, I really believe that what we go through is part of our purpose. And it's just like, if I can just help anyone, even if it's one person watching this, you know, please reach out to me, because I really feel like we're meant to help each other. And so I am working on creating a program right now. And I'm starting to do one-on-one coaching with people because I need feedback for this program as well. I'm trying to create a program that will empower women, but not only specifically to women, men, anyone who aligns with us. That is, you know, that is feeling lost, confused, stuck, stagnated. That knows that they have something else to offer. Maybe is happy in their life. Like, you could have everything going right and still feel this way, and it doesn't make you a bad person. It just means that you're not in tune exactly with your gifts and what you actually are meant to do.
Sure.
And so I want to create this program and help people kind of step into that and give them more of a direction. And so I'm working with one-on-one clients right now, and we are creating this program together.
Nice. It calls to my mind, like, unfortunately, you know, the story of Robin Williams, and how here was a person who was surrounded by success. I mean, he had won Oscars, he'd won Emmys, he'd won probably Grammys and Tonys, and every award you can win, every accolade that you could achieve, but he was so miserable inside, and people around him didn't even know that he was that miserable, you know. And that's one example. When you think of 100 people walking in a room, let's say we're at the Miracle Mile shops on Las Vegas Boulevard. Oh, no! Okay, we have to do legal. If 100 people walk in through the revolving door, how many of those people do you think are Robin Williams level unhappy? Like, really? No one knows, of course, but what do you think? Out of 100 people?
Way more than we would imagine. Actually, statistically, 1 in 4 people 25%. Are depressed.
25%.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not saying that they're at that level where they would take their life, but, like, you know, this is a real thing that people deal with all the time, and it's a conversation that is not being had enough. And I know that there's a lot of conversations going on about this, but there's that stigma behind depression or mental health in general, or just being able to come out and speak about it. It's terrifying to be vulnerable.
No,
you know,
you brought something to my attention, Jamie, and made me think about, you know, what about when you do say something, or you do have an incident where you act out because you are feeling so suppressed? Like Kanye West comes to mind. right? And then what happens is instead of people wanting to hear you, they make a joke of it. Like, come on, dude, you got Kim Kardashian, you got two beautiful babies, you just won a Grammy. What's the matter with you? Shape up, soldier.
Right.
Instead of, I mean, his heart could really be crying out. He could really need to just have someone listen to what he's going through. I can't imagine what he's going through. You know, I'm sure there's great pressure to be Kanye West, right? But
yeah, absolutely.
what are your thoughts on that? Like, instead of us taking someone seriously when they do make that cry for help, we make it a joke. Like, oh, so and so's acting crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that. I think that there's something there. We should definitely try to see the underlying reason of why this is actually happening. It's hard not to get defensive when people are attacking, and so if he's out there and he's like, nah, whatever, getting mad and upset.
That was a good impersonation. That was like spot on. Like, he did that exactly. Do it one more time.
I'm struggling with the words because I can see why people are saying that as well. It's like, well, but we're
publicity
missing
stunt, and you just need
but
attention.
We're missing the point, which is that if someone is acting out, there's usually a call for help underlying there, and especially, I just heard this, like, anger is actually produces the same chemicals as like an amphetamine. So it creates certainty, it creates powerfulness, it creates that feeling in your body to, like, get excited. So maybe he's hurting and he's not getting the help, and then he's lashing out because that's the way he can feel strong about it and be heard, but ultimately it's hard as the recipient, because when someone's coming out, our natural defense is to get defensive. I'm like, oh, well.
Yeah. And I think it makes us examine ourselves too. When someone is going through something and they try to commit suicide, or they cut themselves, or they do something major, it makes us all look at ourselves and go, well, I'm okay, right? I mean, he's my brother, but I'm okay, right? And we always have to justify ourselves and feel okay, right? And I think that's where we get a little shaken by someone else's insecurity or someone else's problem. Like when we hear about a rock star that hung himself because he was so miserable, it's too common for us to go, oh, it's just rock stars. They're spoiled. They got so much money. They blah, blah. Well, yeah, but I don't think there's anybody that has so much money that the next clear financial course is to take their own life. Like that. You got so much money now, it's time for you to kill yourself. Go ahead now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But we don't zone in on that and say, you know what? You can be miserable at the top. You can be miserable at the middle. You can be miserable at the bottom. You can be miserable your whole life.
Absolutely.
No matter what you accomplish, right?
Absolutely. And maybe that's the point, is we have this whole idea that once we achieve this, we're going to be happier. Once we get to this level, or so why are you complaining? You're a rock star. You're a rap star, you don't have any right to complain. But it's not about getting that thing. It's about our mindset and how we feel about ourselves. And yeah, I mean, it does rock your world. It does rock your beliefs when you see someone like that you think might have it all, that should be happy, and they're not. They're clearly not, to the point where they would take their own life. I mean, that does shake you at your core. It's like, well, I guess the point here is that we got to allow ourselves and each other to be, like, it's okay not to be okay.
Right.
It's okay. That doesn't make you weak. Right. That doesn't make you bad. It doesn't make you ungrateful. It doesn't make you a failure. Like, it makes you human.
And that is what's up. Hey, I can't close the show on a stronger note than that. Jaime Lynch, if people want to contact you, they want to reach out on that www, how do they find you?
Yes, please reach out to me. I'm all over social media. So my website is www.jaimelynch.com, and Jaime is spelled differently. Everyone spells it the wrong way. So JAIME LYNCH. JAIME.
It's kind of like the Jaime.
Yes, like Jaime
Lynch.
or exactly. Exactly. So spell it like that. You can find me on Instagram. I am Jaime Lynch. Twitter, Jaime Lynch. I'm on Facebook, Jaime Lynch Official, I believe that's what it is. But if you just Google Jaime Lynch and spell it the right way, you're going to find me. So please look me up, especially if any of this, you know, resonates with you. Hit me up, please. Reach out to me. It's all confidential. I you know, just appreciate being here, and thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Anytime. You're welcome.
Reach out to me, guys.
Hey, I want to leave you with a thought. I was in the shower. That's not the thought. But I was in the shower and I came up with this, just popped into my head. Stevie Wonder has never seen Michael Jackson. Stevie Wonder has never seen Prince. But at the funerals of Michael Jackson and Prince, Stevie Wonder had some very profound things to say about how both of these artists touched his life. And it made me think, this was the thought. How good, how focused, how positive do you have to be to affect people's lives that have never even seen you perform? Something to think about. Hey man, it's been the Ace Michael Show. As I say at the end of every show, and I still mean it, live the life you love the life you live. Thank you.